Hey everyone, Harry here. The morning after the historic conviction on all 34 felony counts in New York versus Donald Trump. So many ways to slice and dice this. Let's just go straight up legally. What happens next? What are the sort of stress points? How do they potentially dovetail with the unusual, if not unprecedented, problem of an adjudged felon running to be the commander-in-chief of the country? For example, this is just one little point that won't figure in unless and until his conviction is finalized. But he can't vote in Florida, and as long as he's in the probation system, thereafter, which would post-date any kind of even time in jail. He can't vote in Florida. Now, I'm not sure he votes anyway, but it's quite a jarring thought. The president of the United States unable to cast a vote because he's a felon. Things like that will, I'm sure, proliferate as they occur to us. But let's go more bread and butter of the criminal justice system in New York and what it now holds for the convicted 45th president of the United States. So, Judge Merchan, after receiving the jury's verdict, actually the first thing he did was very impressively, with the kind of, graciousness and gravitas he's shown in the whole trial, thanked the jury and actually was to talk to them separately and alone about the process, what could be better, et cetera. But then sentencing was said. That's what happens after conviction. In fact, there are times where, depending on the bail status of a defendant, that what happens is they, are immediately taken into custody. Not Trump. And let's just be clear now, I see zero chance that I see a good chance that the DA will ask for some prison time and a pretty good chance that Merchan will give it, but nothing's going to happen. No prospect of Donald Trump in jumpsuit before his conviction is final. And we're talking literally a couple years, which is to say a millennium in current political time, because, are we at that point a reinvigorated democracy, or are we at that point Turkey or any other sort of debased form of democracy in the world? Okay, but sentencing is set for July 11th. Before that, Donald Trump, the indignities proliferate. He's got to sit down with the probation office, and that's normally the time when the convicted defendant gets slapped around big time by his lawyer, and says, make sure you show how contrite you are. I mean, these guys are going to have real power with how long your sentence is, and don't try, you're now convicted, and don't try to, continue to wriggle out of it, put on a good game face, if nothing else. Donald Trump's not capable of a good game face, right? He can't sit down across from a probation officer and, be a hangdog and understand that the system has rendered its judgment and he is wrong. That's like not in his DNA. He would like explode. So he'll be an asshole at the probation office report. His assholery, what would be the noun for, if anyone has that, send it into the Talking Feds line, the line we've set up to get questions. But his assholicness, his assholery will be apparent to the probation office, and that'll be part of the report. And these qualities now that repulse or charm the American people matter for what happens to him now. Now, to take a step back, the crimes he's convicted of often come with no sentence at all. Sometimes the upside, practically speaking, is a few months. But I think what will happen after that report is completed and shows his lack of repentance and the like, and just in general, because of his the different flagrant aspects of the overall scheme and its social harm. Maybe keeping the people from maybe changing the result of the election, but more directly keeping people from having all the information they needed to vote. And his proven, I mean, he didn't commit perjury because he didn't testify, but they put on a completely false and doubled down behind it, a defense of lies, and more lies. Anyway, I think the DA will ask for a prison sentence, some number of months, probably not a huge number. And my best guess is that Merchan, who I think will try really hard to, it's impossible because it's a singular situation, but to try to treat him as he would any other defendant in his shoes. But no one's ever worn those shoes. But I expect Merchan, if I'm, betting, we're really now on lines of supposition and speculation. I wouldn't be surprised, would be the lawyerly way to hedge it, but I'll come right out and say I would predict that Merchan gives him a short time in prison. Now, he could right away. It then falls to the judge to say whether to put him in while the appeal is pending. And as I've said, he will right away. And I think the DA won't even try otherwise. They'll say, let him take his appeal. And of course, there's the additional complicating factor at that point that we will be really in the home stretch. I think the 11th. What a crazy confluence this is 3 days before the Republican convention. So he'll come in freshly sentenced, perhaps to prison for at least a short time. Anyway, he will not ever see the inside of a cell on this charge until it has run the complete process. But, his fundamental status in society, in the criminal justice system, has changed, and not just in terms of whether he's invited to dinner parties. He's a convict. He's not and he will officially be a convict under New York law when the sentence is pronounced. But he's no longer innocent until proven guilty. The law can and will assert power over him even before the conviction is finalized. He will not, for example, this is quite a problem, but they're going to have to figure out when he can travel. And does he have to get permission from Merchan to do, probably not to leave well, maybe. I mean, there are some defendants who, if they leave New York, they need permission. Anyway, there's going to be a welter of practical considerations where Trump, the candidate, is Trump the felon, not Trump the defendant anymore. And, how will Merchan, I think, will bend over backwards to seem reasonable and to, indulge is the wrong word, to give him a lot of rope, because it's not just about Donald Trump now, right? It's about the American people and their judgment, not to mention, of course, that he'll continue to rail, if yesterday's reaction is any indication, against Merchan at every sort of whistle stop. But there's the way the system treats him now has political repercussions that Merchan can't help but take advantage of. Okay, so the next big thing that happens, November 5th, 2024, Trump wins or loses the presidential election. If he loses, man, I think he is in a world of hurt. Obviously, this has nothing to do with the other cases in a legal way, but in a sort of cultural way. The seal has been broken. The fact of this conviction, I think, makes the other ones just more plausible, and things will go forward. So even now, if he loses, Judge Cannon, to take the most extreme example, first, to the extent you think her in the tank, say for Trump, and in part having to do with ambition in case he wins, that air leaks out of the tires immediately. But even so, the waiting game, the delay game has just 180 degrees different. A few more months, whatever. There are 4 trials. They're going to happen. And all this is the wages of, a sort of decision from a few years ago that in part was made by Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, in part by society to, you could have seen a Nixonian solution where he just goes the hell away and we're done with him. But instead, we've decided to sort of funnel him into the criminal justice system. And if he loses, let me put it this way. You could see a political system where, like Nixon, they would say, you don't have to go now and die in jail. That's not the system we've chosen. And if he loses the election, I think the prospects of his dying in jail, a former president of the United States, are substantial, except for, release for, at the end of life. He's got these trials lined up. He's not, maybe he runs in 2028. That's a long time away. And I think they just play out one after the other. So, we'll talk obviously a lot more about that, but in terms of what happens now, probation office, sentencing, November 5th. Now, if he wins, New York, of course, is not in the federal system. He can make the 2 federal cases go away like that, just order the DOJ to get rid of them. But now he's the president of the United States under a sentence from the state of New York. And it's, again, talk about unprecedented situations. But I think what will happen is something like this. The Supreme Court will, or courts will, and the Supreme Court will agree, discern a principle in the federal Constitution that, the president can't be in the pokey while can't welcome the, Putin for a summit meeting in cell block number 5. And that's I think the right principle. And so everything will be on hold while he is president. But then thereafter, it'll come back in play. So there's the prospect of the twice now former president of the United States going to take his presidential respite in Rikers Island. It's just this. The point is the legal system has spoken, and I don't see how he completely. He can do a lot to it to distort it, or he could turn the whole country into, an autocracy where all laws go away. But, I think will take a lot more Trumpian tyranny to actually make this just and now, due verdict that's been entered just go away. So it's around. On his back, even as the potential, what would it be, 47th or president of the United States. So there you go. The legal system imposes the following future on Donald Trump with wild cards and asterisks at all places because he might win the presidency. But probation, sentencing, appeal that you figure takes a year and a half or 2. That's the appellate division of New York, Section 1. Then that's his only mandatory or appeal as of right. Then the New York highest court, called the Court of Appeals, might or might not take his case, and he can appeal to then ask the Supreme Court to take the case. It's because there was a federal error. All this takes some time, but it comes to an end, and we're not fighting anymore the kind of deadline of an election where he becomes president. So no prospect of him being in jail soon, but not a huge prospect, absent the factor of he's old, he's not in good health, he could die, but not a easy prospect to see how he just sort of rubs this out of history. It has happened now. It's part of history. Indeed, it'll be in the history books. And yesterday, in that sense, as in so many other ways, is a monumental day for the ages. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.